Mr. Goncharenko, welcome to our program. What brings you to Kosovo this time?
I am invited by head of Foreign Affairs Committee, Haki Abazi, to the Parliament, to speak in the Parliament, what I did today. And also I met with President, Prime Minister, Speaker of Kosovo, and also with media.
We saw your intervention at the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, where you advocated for Kosovo's acceptance to the Council, and even you broke in Albanian saying, Kosova është Evropë. That was very much appreciated here. Can you tell us more about the mental journey that you had to bring you to that speech? Before you came to that speech, who did you talk to? How did you come to that realization?
It was, I can't say that somebody told me, no, because I feel, I feel that Ukraine should change its place in the world and be much more active and be like a frontline unit of the free world. And I believe that free world should unite and expand. And free world will be not complete without Kosovo, like not complete without Ukraine. That's why I am strongly advocating expanding of the free world, taking new nations, giving them perspective, these nations with which we share the same values, democracy, rule of law, human rights. And I am sure that Kosovo is one of these nations. And I know that Kosovan people, and also I feel like kind of a personal sentiment, because I feel that Ukrainians now are coming through during last 8 years, more than 8 years, which Kosovan people were coming through 20-25 years ago. And genocide, they attempt to wipe out this nation from the map of the world, to wipe out these people. And that's why I think that Ukraine should be supportive for Kosovo.
In this time, even in that speech, you said that Europe cannot afford to have black holes of non-recognition in its midst.
Absolutely.
Looking at the Western Balkans, do you see the Kosovo's incomplete recognition as something offering Russia a chance for mischief, something that increases the options for stirring up additional front of the war in Western Balkans? Do you see that?
Absolutely. I think that Russia, first of all, Russia is doing a lot to keep Kosovo in such situation of not full recognition. Because we understand that have been a member of Security Council of United Nations, by the way, absolutely illegally. Russia is illegally taking this place, but they have this right of veto. That is one. Also, they're using all their leverages and their allies not to recognize Kosovo. So I think that they're doing it with a purpose. And purpose is to destabilize Balkans. And not only Kosovo they use. They use Montenegro, we saw attempt of coup d'etat. They use Bosnia-Herzegovina, we see this, what Dodik is doing, and it's clear. And also we see these Russian narratives which are said by Serbian politicians. I was absolutely horrified when a member of Serbian pro-governmental party, MP from President Vučić party, said that Balkans should be denazified. Because that is exactly the wording which we heard in Ukraine before the invasion started. So that is very dangerous. And that's why I think we should prevent and stop this malign activity of Russia in the region and prevent Russia from creating a bloodshed here and chaos in Balkans.
Looking at the work you've done so far, you have sponsored 2 bills in the Ukrainian parliament. The Verkhovna Rada, and one for recognition of Kosovo. The other one is for the recognition of Çeçenia, the breakaway independent Chechnya of the 1990s that existed for several years under Russia, until Russia under Putin reinvaded it in 1999 and reconquered it. Now,
right.
Your Çeçenia bill has passed into law, so it appears Ukraine has recognized a country that is now in exile. How are the chances of your Kosovo-sponsored bill to be recognized in Ukraine? What are the forces and the votes you have for it or against it? And what are the factors that influence Kosovo law that you are sponsoring?
First of all, I'm sure that my bill will be adopted. The question is when. I can tell you that I sponsored this bill on August 5. And there was quite big discussion in the country about after the bill was sponsored. And there was position...
August 5, 2022.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a big discussion while the war was going on.
Yeah, and there was a big discussion in the country. Some people were saying, well, we have a war. And what for we now should think about Kosovo? Sorry to say it.
Yeah.
And this country, which is partly recognized, announced its independence 14 years ago. So 14 years it lived without our recognition. May it live some months without our recognition further because we have war. And it's not a time for us to think about it today.
How did you justify yourself when people...
I just want to add, others were saying you should not do this because what will Serbia think about it? Or maybe you'll watch Spain is not recognizing Kosovo too, and some other countries. And my answer was very clear. First of all, we can't put our life on stop. So in any way we are in the parliament, in any way we are making decisions, why can't we make a decision about recognition of Kosovo? I think we can, and I am pushing this agenda. Secondly, I think that we should stop playing the games and, with these half tones. Well, what will Serbia say? Oh, maybe that will be used against us. The only question which we should ask, is it according to our values or not? If it is according to our values of human rights, democracy and rule of law, if Kosovo, in the example of Kosovo, is recognized exactly by the same countries which are helping to Ukraine today, by free world, so this is the answer. So we should do the same. And we should not wait, and we should be front runner here, and we should be in front lines. I believe that in general, Ukraine should be in front line of free world.
So where do you yourself, Mr. Goncharenko, get the personal, let's say, mental energy that during the war, for yourself, as a member of the parliament of a country in war with the toughest enemy in Europe, you have the mental energy to talk to your country, to us, and your fellow MPs about Kosovo?
Yes.
Where do you get the mental energy?
Because I believe that it is right. And secondly, I believe that it is in interest of national security of Ukraine. Because I believe that peaceful, strong Balkans and Kosovo as a part of free world and Kosovo jeszcze Europe is beneficial for our security. And we need to prevent any other development of situation here in Balkans. So that's why I think that it is important. Like I work, like you said, on Caucasus, part of Chechnya. I work on Belarus, which is today also occupied by Russia, because I believe that all of this is connected. We can't take one country from the puzzle and think that everything will be okay. No, it will not be.
From the two visits I've been to Ukraine, one of them was in Donbass Media Forum, I got the perception that Ukrainian perceptions of Kosovo have been very much shaped by Russian-Serbian narratives so
Absolutely.
far. So, have they been successful in othering us with images of Kosovo as Islamic terrorist, drug smuggling mafia? For Ukrainians, I found that Putin and Russian media have linked Kosovo in a toxic way to separatist regions Russia has abetted. Firstly, Abkhazia, South Ossetia in Georgia, Transnistria in Moldova, and lately in Ukraine itself, Crimea and Donbass. Now, this was the feeling I got before the war. Is this narrative still persisting about Kosovo and Ukraine?
It has very much changed, but not for everybody, for sure. So we need to work on this. And we need to say about support which Kosovo is giving to Ukraine. Political support, sheltering journalists, everything counts. We need to...
Is that common knowledge in Ukraine today? Is that common knowledge?
No, I can't say that it is common knowledge. And that is one of the gaps which I want to fill. I want people to know this. That's why I came here That's why I have almost 1.5 million followers in my social media. And I today put my speech in Kosovo in my YouTube, and there are already like dozens and dozens of thousands of views. I will continue to do this. I will tell about what I saw here, this support. I think this is important. So the attitude is changing, but we need to continue this work. And yes, Russian propaganda is strong. And you know, it's so strong, you can't believe. I know one lady in Odessa, my native city, her mother lives in Transnistria, you mentioned, occupied by Russia, part of Moldova. And in Transnistria, by the way, Russian propaganda is not so strong as in Russia, but it's still strong. And when the invasion started and the missiles started to fall on the heads of people in Odessa, this lady called to her mother saying the awful started. And she said, well, no, don't worry. Our guys are coming to liberate you. They will liberate you from these Nazis. Everything will be okay. She said, what Nazis? I live here. Missiles are falling. My city is in fire. What you are speaking about? And your mother, just my mother, is saying, no, you should not believe this because on TV they said everything will be okay. So Russian propaganda is strong, and we need to fight with this propaganda. So, and yes, for years, one of their aims was to toxify Kosovo, Albania, all this story of Kosovo battle for independence. And yes, it worked.
And even am I right in understanding that Ukraine's non-recognition of Kosovo is so harsh that, for example, one cannot enter Ukraine with a Kosovo passport, while today you can enter Spain, you can enter Greece with Kosovo passports, although these countries have not recognized Kosovo. But when I talk to anybody who needs to go in Ukraine, it's the country that makes most trouble for entry of Kosovars to Ukraine, not during the war, even before the war. How can we do, what can you do? What can your country do? What institutions do we need to talk to soften and allow people to visit Kosovo? Even my colleagues would like...
To visit Ukraine, you mean?
Yes, to visit Ukraine,
people,
sorry.
Yeah.
So even journalists who want to visit Ukraine have a hard time because they cannot enter because Kosovo passport is not accepted. What can be done in this direction?
It's something that should be fixed. We organized in the Parliament caucus Friends of Kosovo. I have an honor, it's recently, it's just, we did it several days ago. And I have an honor to be a chair of this caucus. And I have also co-chair from the ruling party. So we will push this agenda. And we will push the question, we will address to our Ministry of Foreign Affairs to change the situation and to give possibility to citizens of Kosovo to come to Ukraine. So I will do my best in this direction. That is one of, so we have a big agenda with which to work on in order to strengthen our communication and cooperation.
Can you tell us a bit more who decides of Kosovo's recognition in the Ukrainian system? Is it the parliament or the government?
It is government and president, but the parliament has the right to address to them. And sure, if the parliament will vote it, no government can refuse it. So it's mixed. By the way, but I think it's important to tell it to you, because you said we are not allowed, you have not recognized us. But I also want to remind you that the ties between our countries are, and they are strong. For example, 5 Ukrainians died in KFOR mission, fighting for security of Kosovo and defending Kosovan people. I live in Odessa, very close to two streets very famous in our city, small and big Arnaut streets. And because like historically Albanian diaspora lived there, and we have these streets which are big, beautiful, and very famous in our the whole country. So I think that we have a lot of these connections, but we need to develop them, and we need to go through and to finally to fight this propaganda which was around Kosovo and your case.
But is Ukraine also lobbied by Serbia not to recognize Kosovo? Are the ties with Serbia, as the one side is ties with Kosovo you spoke about? How are Ukraine's ties with Serbia?
Sure, Serbia is doing everything they can everywhere that not to recognize Kosovo. I think it's clear, and they say in this position. I can't tell you that Serbia is very influential in Ukraine. It's not the case. But in any way, Serbia is a recognized state with a vote in United Nations, in Council of Europe, in other institutions. And yes, one of the reasons they're saying, okay, we don't know what will be with our cooperation with Kosovo, but for sure that will destroy our cooperation with Serbia. My answer is again clear. First of all, if we should be stuck to values, and that's important. Secondly, all the countries which recognized Kosovo, Serbia is dealing with them. Not because they want or don't want, because they can't not to deal with them. And the same will be with us. So let us not be stopped by some skeletons in the cupboard, by some phantoms of the past.
Is Ukraine divided in party lines about what line it takes for a situation like Kosovo? Can you describe to us, for example, why would there be such a consensus over recognizing Czechenia and not Kosovo? What are the nuances there?
At the beginning, I should tell you, my bill about Chechnya was earlier than about Kosovo. And at the beginning...
When did you begin? When was your beginning there?
June, I think. I don't remember exactly, but I think this June, yes. And I can tell you that at the beginning, also with Chechnya, many were hesitant. And many were, oh, no, we can't do like this.
So how did you build consensus?
With Chechnya, Putin helped us. Because when he recognized part of Ukraine, first independent, then annexed it, saying that now it is Russia, many people said we should answer. And they, wow, there is this bill, and let us also show that we can react and we can, and there is a very big difference between our regions, which are populated by the same Ukrainians like any others, and really Chechnya, which is populated by completely different nation, which fought for years against Russians. For years, this small nation was fighting for its independence. So why we are not recognizing them? So, and this question moved forward quicker, and now we have a result. So that is the situation. Always, all ideas at the beginning are saying, wow, what is it? It's something insane. At the end, they're saying, why we did not do this earlier? So I think that this moment for Kosovo will also come.
So let's simulate this. What can Putin do to help Ukraine recognize Kosovo?
Oh, if Putin today would say Ukraine never recognized Kosovo, that will be a very good pass, and that will be a very good stimulus and push to Ukrainian politicians to finally do it. That will be great pass from him.
But leaving Russia's behavior aside, I asked you whether Ukrainians are aware, Ukrainian public, about Kosovo hosting Ukrainian journalists, but is there an awareness that, for example, Pristina Film Festival this year hosted Odessa Film Festival because it wasn't held in Odessa as usual, Pristina hosted it. On the other hand, by contrast, do they see how Putin is worshipped in Serbia, how billboards in Serbia were celebrating his 70th birthday, public demonstrations in Belgrade in support of Russia?
Bratushki.
Is Ukrainian public too busy with its own war to see this, or do this news get reported? Does this news get reported in Ukraine?
Ukrainian public is busy, for sure. People, first of all, watching air signal alerts, what's going on the front line.
What about members of parliament? Are they busy about this?
They also are busy to help people and so on. But many people also watch the situation abroad. And speaking about Serbian position, many Ukrainians are absolutely aware that Serbia, on the one hand, saying that we want to be part of European Union, and on the other hand, saying we want to be ally of Putin. And it doesn't work this way. It can't be simultaneously. So you should choose. You can't sit on two chairs. This attitude to Serbia is in Ukrainian society, is in Ukrainian politicum. About Kosovo, this information, they need more, and we will do our best to provide them with it.
is Ukraine blinded to the great parallels that exist? Now I want to talk about great similarities that exist between Ukraine and Kosovo. Kosovo used to be part of, like Ukraine, of a federal unit in Soviet Union. Kosovo
Yugoslavia.
used to be part, it has a statute of a province in 1974.
Excuse me, sorry for interrupting.
Yes.
Today in the parliament I said that independent Kosovo finishes a dream about new Yugoslavia. Independent Ukraine finishes a dream about a new Soviet Union. That is completely the same situations.
And the denial that Serbia makes for Kosovo, the denial that it says that our statehood is artificial, that we don't have state identity, we are historically wrong, it seeks to break our territory. Does Ukraine see these similarities, or we have to tell our own story or our narrative a bit better than we have done so far?
I see these similarities, that's why I'm here. But certainly you always should continue to move before, for example, Ukraine will recognize Kosovo. So that is something you should mention and to say to people, because now it will be heard by Ukrainians.
Has Kosovo done enough? I'm interested now, you have come here today, you are being vocal, you have been in the media all day, you have been in the parliament without reservation. Is it possible that if any of our officials ask to do what you are doing here, to be present and tell the story in Ukraine, would there be an ear to hear them? Have we tried enough? Do you know if any Kosovar officials have tried to do in Ukraine to explain our position, like you have come here to do that?
I don't know. I can't answer your question.
Yeah.
Certainly, I should be frank with you. That problem that Ukraine has not recognized Kosovo as an independent state will prevent, for example, address of Kosovan politician to the parliament. Any. That is the problem for the moment. But it will not prevent, for example, we have this caucus, Friends of Kosovo, and we can invite other MPs. So we can meet on the level of this caucus. We can meet on this level. It will not prevent you to go to media. The problem is that Ukrainian media now is living only with one topic, the war, you understand it. So, but if it not be a war time, sure that Ukrainian media would invite Kosovan politicians, would speak with them and give them possibility, because we are democratic countries, we have a lot of media like you have, many media, different media, and it can be interesting story for Ukraine.
So I'm interested now that you made, to put war aside, now that you have a Ukrainian Kosovo-friendly caucuses in the parliament. Could you imagine the parliamentarians of Kosovo coming to Parliament of Ukraine and being allowed to speak?
Sure.
That
sure,
is possible?
on the level of caucus, sure, absolutely possible.
It is possible. So I want to draw just another parallel. In 1999, fleeing Serbian forces took from Kosovo our National Museum exhibits. They took our cadastral records and much more. In Kherson today, when we watch the news, we see Russian forces dismantling and taking off Ukrainian monuments, cultural treasures, as well as looting hospitals.
That is part of genocide. That is everything that you mentioned. If you will take United Nations Convention on Prevention of Genocide, there are 5 criteria of what is genocide. Unfortunately, all of 5 of them today are met in Ukraine. And one of these criteria is destruction of cultural heritage of group, to say that this group does not exist. That's what was done with you, and that's what is now done with us. That is one of criteria of genocide.
I want to draw another parallel which strikes me. In 1999, Serb forces here massacred prisoners, Albanian prisoners in the Dubrava prison, trying to disguise it under the cloak of NATO bombing, saying NATO did it. I saw that in the Oleksiy prison camp, in eastern Ukraine, a few weeks ago, Russians detonated a bomb that killed 50 Ukrainian prisoners.
Even me, I didn't know this about Dubrava prison, and I didn't know that they were accusing NATO to do this. Absolutely similar situation. Even me, I didn't know this. So it's something which Ukrainians should know.
Yes. So what can media do? I'm now throwing the ball in our corner. What can the media do to tell the stories, the similar stories better now that we have Ukrainian journalists being hosted here and potentially Kosovo journalists interested to go to Ukraine?
I think that you should reach Ukrainian journalists who are working on international agenda. There are a number of them, and to try to speak to them and to show these stories. And I think they are interested in. And I think they will speak with you and they will give the stories to readers, to their viewers. And that is something which should be done. That can be a very good practical step in order to inform people. That will be really important.
How did you come here? Did you get a Kosovo visa?
No, I do not receive any visa. You showed my passport, Ukrainian passport, and biometric, and I'm allowed to go to European Union. That's why Kosovo also accepts it.
This is a recent decision that was made, although previous to the war, Kosovo applied the reciprocal measures towards Ukraine. It put on visas like Ukrainians did. This is a new decision since the war. That is why I want to ask whether the bill passes or not. Is it possible that during the war, your foreign ministry relieves the harsh measures? I know you said you will talk to them, but how?
Not only talk, I will reach them officially, and we will speak with them in official language. We will send inquiries and letters. We will receive their answers. So we will work like always, MP, member of the parliament work. So, and also, we will speak with them too, but official correspondence is official correspondence. So we will do it.
The one thing, we've drawn many parallels between Ukraine and Kosovo, and for the end, I want to just maybe note something incredible that I see happening in Ukraine that I didn't see, even to this day, 20 years after the war, happening in Kosovo. Your war crimes prosecutors go out in Bucha, are taking notes, they are taking evidence to create cases for war crimes immediately after massacres and murders of the Bucha people happened.
And not only Bucha, unfortunately.
How do you do that? How do you just go on with institutional work in the middle of the war? How do you become and continue to be so organized as a Ukrainian society?
Because for us it's existential, this threat. And everybody on each place trying to do their absolutely most, because we understand that if we would fail, that would be like end of our nation. So that's why we don't have even chance, we don't even want to speak about the possibility, we will never fail. And that's why everybody, including prosecutors, investigators, they're doing their best. And also we're working with the international community today, and they are also helping us with this, with all these prosecution procedures and investigations. That is very important.
Incredible, that's quite incredible, but also can you explain how one thing is to want to win the war and have the existential fight and the stamina and the mindset and the determination. The other thing is to actually be successful at it. The entire world thought that Russia is the second strongest army in the world. I've had a recent Russia expert on the program saying, we thought it's the second strongest army. It ended up to be the second strongest army in Ukraine, not in the world. Did you believe, you know Russia better as your enemy than we do, did you believe is this weak militarily that you can actually achieve so much military success as Ukraine?
You know, they are weaker than I thought. Me personally, for example, I knew that our land forces were very strong. But for example, I thought that Russian Air Force is so strong and our is unfortunately weak that we couldn't fight, but they fought. But it's a heroism, it's a courage of our pilots, but they did it. And many other cases like this. So Russia was overestimated. It's still a strong army. I can't tell you that they are nobody. They are massive, there are a lot of them, they have all this Soviet weaponry. It's not so effective like Western one, but it kills. And they have a lot of it, a lot of it. But I think the most important thing is moral. Because we know for what we are fighting, what they're fighting for, what their soldiers are doing in our land, what their officers are doing. They can't understand themselves. And I think this is a very important moment which differs us. And second thing, this is about democracy. The democracy is stronger than any autocracy. Why? Because all this war, my analogy, is the war of vertical, Russian vertical, against Ukrainian horizontal. And also in the army. Our commanders on the place, on the battlefield, younger commanders, they are absolutely autonomous. They can make decisions, they can change these decisions if they need to. And Russian army is like a dinosaurus. Massive body, tiny head, and very tiny brains inside this head. Everything should be, Putin should give an order to some regiment to do something. And it doesn't work this way. So our army is an army of democratic society fighting for their land and their houses. Their army is quite, some Soviet monster, these dinosaurs which trying to catch these moving like bees Ukrainian units. So that I think the most important, but sure also Western weaponry, without it would be so difficult for us. But on the first place I am putting these two things.
And how you are going back to Kiev, how is your daily life in Kiev? What do you and your family have to do?
Mostly me and my family, mostly we live in Odessa. Me personally, I'm often in Kiev because the parliament is in Kiev. I will come back quite difficult because there are no we can't fly to Ukraine because the airspace is closed. So we use either Poland or Moldova or Romania to come to Ukraine. But there are no, unfortunately, direct flights from Pristina, no to Romania, no to Moldova, no to Poland. So I need to make some flight with the stops to come to one of these countries. From there's airport, I need to drive to Ukraine. Then I will take a train to get to Kiev because Ukraine is a big country. That's how it works. Speaking about life, I think it's better than many others. It's striking because sometimes you feel it completely normal. You're coming to the streets, sun is shining, children on the playground, and everything is okay. But then missile is coming, drone is coming, explosion, children are crying, women are crying, we have victims, and then you realize that it is this horror, we continue to live in it. So it's both at the same time. Yeah, and it's difficult. Psychologically, it's difficult. And that's why many people left Ukraine and many are afraid to come back because some of people came back, but when they heard these explosions again, when you are lying, in reality, every person in Ukraine coming to bed in the evening cannot be sure that he or she will wake up. That is the reality of our life. And it's difficult, but it happened like this.
What is your estimation? How much longer do you think the war will last? I know this is $1 million question. I respect that you might not have the answer, as you may wish the war, like me, to end soon, today. But how long is your country prepared to take this war on?
Our country is prepared to fight till our victory, and no other end doesn't suit us. So if it will take 10 years, 100 years, we will fight 10 years or 100 years. But I believe it will not take so much time. I don't know how much, but I think we're speaking about months, not years.
And finally, to bring it back to Kosovo, to close this interview with Kosovo, you are doing your best, but you are, as member of parliament, you are a part of a 27-member group of European Solidarity.
Which is opposition before the war, because now we're all united.
Okay, so it was opposition. There's a parliament of 423 people. Your group has 27 MPs. What do you suggest for Kosovo not to put all eggs in one basket or just rely on you and your great initiative? Thank you for it. But what do you suggest Kosovars to do to reach out to who in order to get our point across, in order to help you make your votes for the bill that we need in your parliament? Who else should we talk to in your country?
Sure, we're speaking about ruling party, President Zelensky party. That's why I underlined you, which is very important for me, that in the group which we created, Friends of Kosovo, my co-chair is a deputy head of presidential fraction. And that,
From Zelensky's party?
From Zelensky party,
Okay.
from presidential fraction. She is co-chair, I am chair, she is co-chair. So we are both genders, we are bipartisan.
What is
So
is she informed about Kosovo?
Yeah, she is, and she also works with me in the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. So she will also be helpful for you in Strasbourg. So I think this is very important. And we should continue this work and this bipartisan principle. That's why I talked about it.
Thanks very much, and have safe travels in Ukraine, and be safe with you and your family there.
Thank you very much.